Dear students, we are resuming our discussion of topic 1, physical quantities and units. We started it in the last week, and we have already discussed what physical quantities are, how we group them into two broad categories, base and derived quantities and their units. Uh, Then we moved on to some prefixes that we use to express the size, the magnitude of quantities. If I want to express something in big unit, for example, it's not a few kilometers, it may be several thousand and even million kilometers, then I use the appropriate prefix for that purpose. For example, the distance between the centers of the earth and the sun is 150 million kilometer. So instead of write 9 zeros here, we have used appropriate prefixes to express them in a concise, convenient way. Otherwise, it would be something like this: 150 followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 for this mega, and another 3 zeros for kilo, and then I would write meter. So this is the total distance between the centers of the sun and the earth. In other words, this is the distance of sun from the earth, and this is usually expressed in mega kilometer. So mega kilometer may the capital M and this small k, they are the appropriate prefixes here which are used to express this large number. So this is one of the examples that we discussed. Similarly, if they ask what is the size of a nucleus, it is of this order: 10 is power minus 15 meter. This is the approximate size of a nucleus. So the discussion that we are now starting is about what is our understanding of the reasonable size of different objects that we observe. Sometimes we have to make estimates of those things that we see in the lab, in the classroom. Sometimes we have to make estimates of those things that we come across in the marketplace or at home. Sometimes we have to memorize a few things so we know what is their approximate size. And this example is one of those types where we have to memorize, because I cannot observe nucleus. I have never seen a nucleus, and unless I have come across this figure somewhere in the book, in my notes, on the internet, only then I can memorize, I can remember this estimate. And this estimate is sometimes referred to as the order of magnitude of it. The order of magnitude simply means what is the power of 10 involved here. So 10 raised to power minus 15 meter means it is one of the smallest things we will ever come across in physics. So 10 raised to power minus 15 is the size of a nucleus. So how do we make reasonable estimates of those things that we come across and observe in daily life? So we start with a few simple things. Estimates based on our observations. Estimates based on observations. These are simple observations that we make, and we have to make reasonable estimates. For example, it could be mass of an apple. Mass of an apple. What is your idea of the mass of an apple? How much on the average an apple is in grams, let's say, or even kilogram. Sometimes they insist that we add unit to our estimates, and sometimes the units are given. For example, if they ask us to express this in grams, what is your observation? How many grams should an apple be? So most of the time when we go to the market and we uh, purchase apples, we observe that there are certain number of apples that we have in 1 kilogram. So if we estimate, it could be something about 200 grams or 250 grams. It's a reasonable size of apple. So it's 4 or 5 apples in 1 kilogram. If it is 2 kilo, 200 grams, it is 5 apples in 1 kilogram. So this is how you observe, and this is how you estimate. That if similarly, if you go to the lab and observe various things there, and you are required to estimate their masses of such simple objects as protractor, so mass of a protractor. This was one of the questions in the exam. In recent past papers, you may see these estimates as questions. So what is the mass of a protractor that you often use measuring angles in the lab? So this estimate is a reasonable estimate is 30 to 50 grams. Similarly, what is uh, the mass of a meter rule? Mass of a meter rule. A meter rule, which is 100 centimeter long wooden rule, what is your estimate of its mass? So if you have observed it, if you have used it several times, you must have tried to estimate how heavy it is, and that gives you the idea of what mass it should carry. So it should be something like 100 between 100 and 150 grams. So this is how you estimate the masses of various things. These estimates do not involve any calculation, they do not involve any simplification or any formula required for it. You just have to observe things, and you have to be able to estimate reasonably accurately what is their mass, what is their length, what is their volume, what is the area, uh, so on and so forth. But we don't have such simple observations, such simple estimates all the time. Sometimes we have to uh, use some formula, some calculations to make this estimate. Let's discuss a few examples of that type as well. Sometimes we have to go beyond the observation and make a few simplifications before we apply a formula, and then we know what is the size, the magnitude of that object is. For example, if I put this category of estimates as estimates based on some simplification, some simplification and a formula. First we make a few simplification about its shape, and then you apply a formula to know what is the required estimate is. For example, one of the question was the volume of an adult head in centimeter cube. Now you have to estimate the volume of an adult head. The head is now something like a sphere. So first simplification is that we assume it to be a perfect sphere, the head. And then we make a reasonable estimate of the radius or the diameter of this head. So a reasonable estimate of the radius is something like 7 or 8 centimeters. If I know the radius of an adult head is approximately 7 centimeter, or let's say 8 centimeter, it is okay if you write 7 and 8, as long as it's reasonable, this is accepted. So with this, you need a formula now to calculate the volume. First, you have made some simplification about its shape. Of course, this is not perfect sphere, and this is a simplified picture that we are assuming here. So this sphere, if it is estimated to be 7 centimeter, has volume equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube. Now if I use this value here, use this formula to calculate, I have a reasonable size in centimeter cube, and this is an acceptable estimate of the volume of an adult head. Similarly, they might ask you to estimate the volume of a potato. Now a potato is not a sphere. Volume of a potato. Now a potato is more like this. So instead of assuming it to be a sphere, we assume it to have this shape. This. So this will be more reasonable to assume it a cuboid. It has a certain length, it has a certain depth, it has a certain height. So it is a cuboid, the closest. So volume of a potato, now you can estimate what is the typical length of a potato and what is typically its height, and you should be able to estimate all the 3 dimensions of it. If I assume this is 2 centimeter, let's say, if I assume this is 4 centimeter, and I assume this is 5 centimeter, I multiply them all and calculate the volume in this manner. So this will be a reasonable estimate of a potato in centimeter cube again. So these type of estimates require you to simplify your thing. Now another one is, another category of estimates requires you to memorize a few things now. Estimates based on memorization. Estimates that require memorization. You have to memorize a few numbers, a few facts in physics. For example, if they ask you to calculate the pressure 10 meter below the surface of water in a swimming pool, of course you use a formula, pressure is equal to rho GH. But do you remember what is the density of water? Do you remember what value of G should be used here? The only value they have given you is the depth. The value of pressure 10 meter below the surface of water in a swimming pool or in a in any body of water, in a river, let's say. So all these values need to be memorized. This density of water is 1000 kilogram per meter cube. In SI units, this is 1000 kilogram per meter cube. This is because this is estimate, so you can take this value as 10. Remember, in the questions based on estimates, the value of G is not taken 9.81, it is approximately 10. So it is taken 10. Otherwise, in the AS physics, the value of G is always taken 9.81. But for this particular topic where we are making estimates, it is allowed and it should be taken 10 multiplied by 10. So all this makes it 10 raised to power 5 pascals. So this is our estimate of the pressure in pascals 10 meter below the surface of water if it has this density. Of course, if you go to the sea, which is a little more denser water, its density is slightly greater than this. We expect larger pressure at the same depth. But as long as it's normal water, they do not make any specific mention to higher density. Our estimate is reasonable and it is 10 raised to power 5 pascals. A few more questions of this type. They might ask you to calculate the kinetic energy of an Olympic runner running a 100-meter race. A runner, kinetic energy of a runner running 100-meter race. What is the kinetic energy of a runner, an athlete who is running a 100-meter race in Olympics? Naturally, you will be using this formula here to calculate the kinetic energy, but you need to know what is the typical speed of the runners running 100-meter race. You must memorize, you must have read it somewhere, you must have heard it somewhere, that what is the typical time in which the 100-meter race is finished by these athletes who are taking part in 100-meter Olympic race. So typically, they take less than 8 seconds. So it could be even 8 seconds is an acceptable time in which they finish it, but the world record is probably less than 8 seconds. So let's say it's 8 seconds that you use, that you remember that it is 8 seconds or 8, around 8. So another estimate that you make is that of the mass that an Olympic runner has in kilogram. It could be a reasonable estimate, could be 75 or 80. Usually they are muscular. The runners, they have good mass. It's not something like 55 or 60. They usually have a mass in 80, 75, 80 is a good estimate. So if you use these values 1/2 into 80 kilograms, and the speed is 100 divided by 8. If I assume that 8 seconds is the time in which they finish. So 100 meter finished in 8 seconds gives you the typical speed of the runner running Olympic 100-meter Olympic race. So with these values, you should be able to calculate the reasonable estimate of the runner who is running 100-meter Olympic race. So this could be put in this category because you have memorized the number, you have been able to recall it, and you have put it in a formula, and then you worked out and simplified a reasonable estimate of it. Other such estimates in which you are required to memorize a few things. They are all the values of the orders of magnitude of wavelengths of electromagnetic spectrum. Now, this question, obviously, this will be taken care of once you have studied waves in the AS physics. After a few topics we have studied, we'll come across a topic in the AS which is called waves, and one of the things we'll discuss in detail is the wavelengths and frequencies of the electromagnetic spectrum. And there we'll learn that we need to memorize the orders of magnitude of the wavelengths of all the waves that electromagnetic spectrum comprises of. For example, we will be asked in the exam what is the order of magnitude of the wavelength of blue light. Order of magnitude of blue light. Now, blue light is just a wavelength, just a frequency, and it has a certain size, and that is usually expressed in nanometers, and it is 350 nanometer. This is the order of magnitude of wavelength. I should have written wavelength of blue light. So wavelength of blue light is 350 nanometer. And if I write the order of magnitude means I should write it in the standard form, and that is 3.50 into 10 raised power minus 7 meter, and this is the order of magnitude actually. Minus 7, which is 10 raised to the power minus 7, this is known as the order of magnitude. So they ask this question both ways. Sometimes they simply ask you what is the wavelength of blue light, then is usually expressed in nanometers, 350 nanometer. But if they ask us to answer as the order of magnitude of it, then it should be minus 7 in the answer, because minus 7 is the order of magnitude. But minus 7 is the answer because you have written this number as standard form, 3.50, in which one significant figure is allowed before the decimal and the rest is on this side. So this is the standard way or scientific way of expressing any number. So in scientific notation, this minus 7 is called order of magnitude of this wavelength, which is 3.50 into 10 raised to the minus 7 meter. and the same number is expressed in nanometer as 350 nanometer. Similarly, just another example so you remember a few things and you know how to express them. Let's discuss the order of magnitude of the red light. What is the wavelength of red light? Wavelength of red light. Again, something that you will remember after you have studied the chapter. You will remember that it is usually expressed in nanometer, and typically it is 750 nanometer. So 750 nanometer again has an order of magnitude. If I express them in the scientific notation, this is 7.50 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter. So order of magnitude of this is minus 7, because 10 is raised to power minus 7, and this number is written in standard form. So in scientific notation, after we express in scientific notation, we know it is minus 7 as the order of magnitude. So there are several other things that need to memorize. For example, what is the density of air? This was one of the questions in the exam, in recent exam. Density of air. Speed of sound in air. Unestimated sound, it depends on temperature, so they might add at 20 degree Celsius. That means at reasonable temperature, what is the sound, what is the speed of sound in air. Similarly, speed of light in vacuum, because speed of light varies when it enters different media. It could be different in water, it could be different in glass, it could be it's different value in vacuum. So they mention the medium in which they want us to write the value of the speed of light. So all these things are memorized. If you do not remember this, you can't help. You cannot make any reasonable estimate of the speed of light in vacuum if you have never come across this number and you have not memorized it. So there are several things that you need to memorize. So this is the topic which was based on the estimates, and I have tried to given you a bigger picture that this topic, although it has not any set syllabus, it could be anything related to your syllabus, it could be anything related to your lab, and anything that they think should come in your experience. As I said in the beginning, it could be mass of an apple, although it's not directly linked to your syllabus, but it is something related to your day-to-day experience. So it could be things like this that you have to estimate. I am giving you a few more questions that you will try on your own, and then I'll share with you a worksheet for today's lesson. It also consists of a question in which we have included the estimates of a few things. Estimate the kinetic energy of a car that means you have to make two estimates. you have to make a reasonable estimate of the mass of the car, and you have to make a reasonable estimate of the speed of the car. Of course, this car is not mentioned as a car on the racing track. This is a car on the road. That means it has a reasonable speed that is normally allowed on the road. So it could be around 100 kilometer per hour, not more than that, because uh, in on normal road the cars do not run more than 120 kilometer per hour. Even that is the limit, and that is rarely the speed that we observe on the road. Usually it is between 80 and 100 kilometer per hour. So you have to estimate the mass of the car, and you have to estimate the speed of the car. Similarly, you have to estimate the of a raindrop, volume of a raindrop, and you have to estimate the thickness of an A4 sheet of paper. Or simply A4 paper. You have to, like the paper I'm holding, this is typically A4 sheet, and you have to estimate how thick this paper is, and you will express this thickness in millimeters. So these are the kind of estimates where you have to uh, rely on your observation or some technique or a formula. So all these type of estimates are included in your syllabus, and you can expect all these kind of questions. Usually they are asked in paper 2. If you see recent past papers, you have several questions in which they are asking these questions repeatedly, or you find these estimates in paper 1 as well. So I finish here. Uh, in the next class on Wednesday, we'll start a new topic, and that is vectors and scalars. Thank you.